Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. The emergence of the Kansas City Chiefs defense under Steve Spagnuolo has probably been the deciding factor between the Kansas City Chiefs having multiple rings and simply multiple Super Bowl appearances with Patrick Mahomes at the helm of the offense and all of them under Andy Reid's tutelage. But the defense did take a bit of a step backwards last season from where it had been for the prior 2 years, which, again, resulted in a little bit of trouble at the very, very end of the season. I'm not going to go into details about what happened allegedly in the Super Bowl, but you understand. You watched it as well. But there is possibly hope for the defense to get better, even outside of the draft picks that they made in the 2025 NFL draft, many of whom I think are actually going to immediately upgrade this defense. And where might that internal improvement for the Kansas City Chiefs come from? Well, we have an article from PFF titled Most Underrated Player on All 32 NFL Teams Ahead of the 2025 Season, and it starts like this. Following free agency and the 2025 NFL Draft, the 32 teams' rosters are starting to get finalized as training camp nears. With that in mind, here is a look at the 32 players who we believe should get more recognition for their efforts. For the Kansas City Chiefs, that player who was picked was linebacker Lew Chenal. The article says, Chenal has a very specific role in Steve Spagnuolo's defense, operating as an early down run defending specialist and playing just 26% of the team's possible third and fourth down snaps since 2023. Chenal has thrived in that early down role, earning the third best PFF run defense grade, 91.3, at his position since 2023, behind only Bobby Wagner, 94.1, and Fred Warner, 92.1. He has done this by engineering back-to-back seasons with top 4 marks as a run defender, and he enters a contract year. And as he enters a contract year, he should continue to be a key member of the Chiefs' run defense unit. I believe that the way the Kansas City Chiefs defense can get even, if only incrementally better, it is by having Lew Chenal on the field more third and fourth downs. The article does state 26% of the team's possible third and fourth down snaps since 2023. Why the holdup on Lew Chenal? Well, part of that seems to be that he is maybe a little bit of a liability in the passing game. I say this, I don't care. I don't care. Don't put him in coverage. Send him after the quarterback. Make him run forward. It is that at which Lew Chenal is very, very good. Just as a reminder how good he is at running forward, let's take a little bit of a gander at the athlete that is Lew Chenal, for memory's sakes. 6'2" and 5/8, basically 6'3", 250 pounds. Those are very good numbers for a linebacker. With a 4.53 40-yard dash, that is a great number for a linebacker. And a 1.50 10-yard split, that is an elite number for a linebacker. A 4.24 20-yard short shuttle and a 6.98 3-cone drill, good numbers. A 40.5-inch vertical leap. Who says white boys can't jump? Broad jump of 10 foot 8 inches and 34 reps on the bench press. Lew Chenal is an absolute monster. I repeat, an absolute monster. Maybe he's not great at turning and running with tight ends. Maybe he's not great at flooding the flat in order to snuff out a running back. Who cares? Let him hit people. Please, let him hit people. Because this is his production for his entire career. Nick Bolton has more than 160 tackles, so Leo Chenal has 160 career tackles. Nick Bolton had more than 160 tackles in a single season. Leo Chenal has accumulated, 32 starts during his career. The troubling sign for me, we're going to scroll down a little bit so we get his snap counts in frame 2. So he played 261 snaps as a rookie, 443 snaps in his sophomore campaign, and then 445 snaps last year. So the most reps he ever played was last year. It was only by 2 reps, but it was 2 more reps. He got 2 more reps in order to get 5 fewer tackles, 4 fewer tackles for loss, 2 fewer sacks, 6 fewer hits on the quarterback. There was a regression for Leo Chenal last season. Now, you see that he did step up with 3 pass deflections and 3 forced fumbles, where he had only accrued 1 pass deflection in his first 2 seasons and 0 forced fumbles. So he was doing something right. It was a marginal drop-off statistically from a marginal increase snap-wise. So one thing that we can say is that perhaps what actually happened with Leo Chenal on the field was a little bit of adjusting responsibilities. It does not have to be that his play fell off when he got 5 fewer tackles and well, the other stats are a little bit more difficult to really write off that way. 4 fewer tackles for loss for a guy who is a run-stuffing specialist. It's a little bit harder to justify that. But what are we looking at with Leo Chenal? Why do I think that it could be a meaningful step forward for the defense if Leo Chenal is on the field more, despite a brief statistical step backwards in 2024. We're going to look at Drue Tranquill and Nick Bolton. Remember, last year, Leo Chenal played 445 snaps. For comparison's sake, Drue Tranquill played 798, and Nick Bolton played 941 snaps of football. Both of these guys doubled up what it was that Leo Chenal played last year. I don't know what the holdup is. I really don't. And Drue Tranquill was signed after Leo Chenal had already played a season for the Kansas City Chiefs, so they knew about some of the physical limitations of the young linebacker Chenal. It is a little bit concerning to me that he is not getting more reps, but the Chiefs do roll out a whole lot of safeties and a whole lot of third cornerbacks, so maybe it just has to do with the changing nature of the NFL. When you look at these numbers, what you are looking at is a brawny throwback linebacker, a guy who is going to hit someone as hard as they can with a face mask between the numbers. That's what you have in Leo Chenal. That is kind of not where the NFL is right now. Though, one thing worth watching. Harbaugh is the coach of the Chargers. They like to run the football. The Raiders just got Ashton Jeanty. That is 4 games every season right there where there will be an emphasis on the running game. But I say every season, and it'll be every season for 5 years with Ashton Jeanty at the very least, assuming there are no injuries, and as long as Harbaugh wants to coach the Chargers. But here's the unfortunate truth of things. Leo Chenal is in the final season of his rookie deal. He is scheduled to earn $3.6 million this year, and next year he is a free agent. when you look at a guy who is playing just 400-ish snaps per season, it is difficult to see the Kansas City Chiefs wanting to re-sign him when he's going to be earning more than $3.6 million per season, and he is likely to have other suitors out there in free agency just based on the things that he has done so far in his NFL career. And if they let Leo Chenal loose in the pass rushing department, things could get very interesting indeed for what it would take to re-sign Leo Chenal. Now, why am I so doubtful that Leo Chenal will return to the Kansas City Chiefs, even though I really hope he does? This is what it took to re-sign Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton will be earning $6.5 million this season. Nick Bolton is scheduled to earn $19.2 million in 2026. I find those numbers at the middle linebacker position very difficult to comprehend. You have to have several UDFA make your roster every season if you were throwing around this type of money at the top end of the roster. It is possible that the Kansas City Chiefs know something about Chris Jones that we don't. Chris Jones, another guy who makes a whole lot of money, but if, for example, he were to retire, all of a sudden, there is a large void against the salary cap. So it is possible that is under consideration. Obviously, Travis Kelce is likely to retire after this season, but the potential out in Nick Bolton's contract happens after the 2026 season. You see there on the screen, $4.25 million in dead cap space, as opposed to paying Nick Bolton another $19.25 million. So I am not sure exactly where this goes with Nick Bolton. I am not sure exactly where this goes with Leo Chenal. I will say that it is a better problem to have where there is a very good starting linebacker in Nick Bolton on the field, and I am hoping to see more of really good linebacker Leo Chenal on the field versus, I don't know, Anthony Hitchens rolling out there 17 times per season and everyone just saying, hey man, just put a corner out there. Just put a safety on the field. It's not going to make a difference. Just pick someone out of the stands because at least they would have the time of their life until Derrick Henry ran them over. The problem of wishing that Leo Chenal was playing more football for the Kansas City Chiefs is a real first world problem. But I do think that it does. So the great Nick Bolton versus Leo Chenal debate happens not because of passing downs. Both of them kind of leave something to be desired as far as what it means covering a tight end or a running back out of the backfield. It's the running game where they're both really good. Nick Bolton is extremely good at running to the line of scrimmage and stopping a running back. So where would the difference be for these two players? It seems to be that Nick Bolton just has this wild X factor and is constantly around the ball. I have never seen a linebacker who is worse in coverage have more interceptions. I have never seen a linebacker that is seemingly, you look at Nick Bolton on the field and you think that guy is good for 10 yards, right? He just, after 10 yards, we don't know what's going on the field with Nick Bolton. Sometimes he slows down really fast. Sometimes he's not going the right direction. He can scoop and score like any linebacker in the league. Nick Bolton is a special football player, whereas Leo Chenal is a special physical specimen. The difference is the X factor for Nick Bolton. But I think if Leo Chenal gets more opportunities, it could be the pass rushing capabilities of Leo Chenal. I think that that is something that is still untapped for the Kansas City Chiefs. In college, go back and look at Leo Chenal's college tape. He looked like a Watt brother. It was insane. But Leo Chenal playing more for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2025 NFL season could lead to a bump in the Chiefs' defensive rankings, at least in my opinion, and apparently the opinions of PFF. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.